I need you to pause for just a moment and really listen to what I'm about to share with you, because this message might be exactly what your soul has been searching for. Right now, in this very instant, you're here for a reason. Maybe you're going through something that feels unbearable. Maybe your heart is heavy with questions that seem to have no answers. Or perhaps you're standing at a crossroads wondering which path to take. Whatever brought you here today, I want you to know that the universe has already been speaking to you. The signs have been there all along, waiting for you to notice them. And if you stay with me until the very end of this story, I promise you'll understand not only what those signs mean, but also how to use them to transform your pain into the most beautiful chapter of your life. Before we dive deep into this journey together, I need something from you. Let's create something powerful as a community. If this message resonates with your heart, if you feel that spark of recognition, leave a comment below. Let's reach 100 comments on this video, because every single comment sends a signal to the universe and to this platform that this message needs to reach more people who are suffering right now, more souls who need to hear that their pain is temporary. And please, stay until the very end, because those who watch completely are remembered first by the platform, meaning you'll be the first to receive our next message when you need it most. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss the guidance the universe wants to send your way. Think of your subscription as opening a door that allows these messages to find you exactly when you need them. Now, let's begin this journey together. There was someone, let's call them Alex. Though this story could be about anyone, anywhere, including you. Alex had been carrying a weight that seemed to grow heavier with each passing day. It started subtly, like most pain does. First, it was the job that no longer brought any sense of purpose, just a paycheck that barely covered the mounting bills. Then came the relationship that had slowly transformed from a source of joy into a daily reminder of loneliness, even when sitting right next to their partner. The friendships that once felt like anchors had drifted away, leaving Alex feeling like a stranger in their own life. Every morning brought the same exhausted feeling, the same question echoing in their mind. Is this all there is? The mirror reflected someone they barely recognized anymore, someone whose eyes had lost their spark, whose smile had become a performance rather than a genuine expression of happiness. The pain had become so familiar that Alex had almost accepted it as a permanent resident in their heart, like an unwanted guest who had overstayed their welcome but seemed impossible to ask to leave. But here's what Alex didn't know yet, what they couldn't see through the fog of their suffering. The universe had already begun orchestrating their breakthrough. The signs had been appearing for weeks, maybe even months, but pain has a way of narrowing our vision, making us blind to the very guidance we're desperately seeking. It started on a Tuesday morning, nothing special, just another day in the endless cycle of sameness. Alex was sitting in traffic, running late for a job they dreaded when their car suddenly died. Right there in the middle of the highway, engines sputtering and refusing to restart. Frustration flooded through them, because this was exactly the kind of thing that always seemed to happen when life was already difficult. The tow truck took hours to arrive. Alex missed the entire morning at work, and what should have been a productive day turned into a nightmare of mechanics, unexpected repair costs, and angry messages from their boss. In that moment, sitting in the mechanic's waiting room with terrible coffee and worn magazines, Alex felt like the universe was punishing them, adding insult to injury, piling more problems onto an already unbearable situation. But was it really a punishment? Or was it the first sign? See, that morning at the office that Alex missed, there was a massive argument between their boss and the entire team. The toxic environment that Alex had been enduring for years finally exploded, and 3 people quit on the spot. The boss, already on edge, would have targeted Alex for the smallest mistake, and given the state of Alex's mental health, it could have been the breaking point that pushed them toward a decision they couldn't take back. The car breaking down wasn't the universe being cruel. It was the universe being protective, pulling them out of harm's way, giving them space to breathe even though it didn't feel like breathing at the time. But Alex didn't see it yet. The sign went unnoticed, buried under frustration and financial worry about the repair bill. The second sign came a week later, through a phone call Alex almost didn't answer. It was an unknown number, and these days, unknown numbers usually meant bills, spam, or more problems. But something made Alex pick up. maybe exhaustion, maybe curiosity, maybe the universe gently guiding their hand toward the phone. It was an old friend, someone Alex hadn't spoken to in years, someone who had moved away and built a completely different life. They were calling because Alex had randomly appeared in their dream, and the dream had been so vivid, so urgent, that they felt compelled to reach out. They talked for hours, and during that conversation, the friend mentioned a job opening at their company, something that aligned perfectly with skills Alex had forgotten they possessed, talents that had been buried under years of settling for less than they deserved. The friend encouraged Alex to apply, even offered to put in a recommendation, but fear crept in. What if it didn't work out? What if relocating was too risky? What if this was just another disappointment waiting to happen? So Alex thanked them, said they'd think about it, and then did nothing. The sign was there, a doorway opening, an invitation from the universe, but fear kept Alex frozen in place. As a psychologist would tell you, this is the pattern most of us fall into when we're in pain. We become so accustomed to suffering that the idea of change, even positive change, feels more threatening than staying in our misery. We know our pain, we understand it, we've learned how to survive with it. But joy, opportunity, transformation, those are unknown territories, and the human mind often chooses familiar pain over unfamiliar possibility. The universe knows this about us, which is why it doesn't give up after one or two signs. It keeps trying, keeps reaching out, keeps creating opportunities for us to wake up and notice what's being offered. The third sign came through Alex's body, and this one was impossible to ignore. The stress, the pain, the emotional weight they'd been carrying manifested physically. They started experiencing severe headaches, exhaustion that no amount of sleep could cure, and a tightness in their chest that scared them enough to visit a doctor. After running tests, the doctor sat Alex down and said something that would become a turning point. There's nothing seriously wrong with your body, but your body is screaming at you to change something in your life. This is stress. This is your physical form trying to protect you by forcing you to stop and pay attention. The doctor recommended therapy, meditation, exercise, and most importantly, an honest evaluation of what in Alex's life was causing this level of distress. This was the universe speaking through Alex's own body, using the language of physical sensation, because the subtle signs had been missed. Your body is always communicating with you, always sending messages about what your soul needs. Pain, illness, exhaustion. These aren't always just physical problems to be medicated away. Sometimes they're messengers, urgent telegrams from your inner wisdom saying, please, stop ignoring what you know needs to change. That night, lying in bed unable to sleep, Alex finally allowed themselves to really feel everything they'd been pushing down. The tears came, and with them, a flood of realizations. The job wasn't just unfulfilling, it was actively destroying their sense of self-worth. The relationship wasn't just distant, it had become emotionally abusive in ways Alex had been making excuses for. The life they were living wasn't their life at all. It was a collection of choices made out of fear, obligation, and the belief that they didn't deserve better. And in that moment of complete honesty, something shifted. It was subtle, like the first crack in a dam before the water breaks through, but it was real. Alex made a decision. Not a complete transformation overnight, because that's not how real change works, but a decision to start paying attention, to stop sleepwalking through their own existence, to look for the signs they'd been missing. The next morning brought a strange sense of clarity, the kind that comes after crying until there are no tears left. Alex looked at their phone and saw the message from their old friend, still sitting there unanswered. This time, instead of letting fear decide, they chose courage. They updated their resume, they applied for the position, and they sent a message back saying yes, they were interested. Thank you for thinking of them. It felt terrifying and exhilarating at the same time, like jumping off a cliff while trusting that wings would appear. And here's what happened next. Here's where the universe showed its hand in a way that could no longer be denied. Within 2 days, Alex got called for an interview. Within a week, they received a job offer with a salary that would change their financial situation completely. But more than the money, it was the feeling of being valued, of having their talents recognized, of stepping into an opportunity that felt aligned with who they truly were rather than who they'd been forcing themselves to be. Now, let's talk about what happened with the relationship, because this is where the universe's guidance became even more profound. Making the decision to pursue a new job in a different location forced Alex to have an honest conversation with their partner, a conversation they'd been avoiding for months. They sat down one evening and finally spoke their truth, expecting anger, expecting guilt trips, expecting all the manipulation tactics that had become normal in their relationship. But something unexpected happened. Their partner, upon hearing that Alex was considering this massive change, revealed their own truth. They admitted they'd been unhappy for a long time too, that they'd felt the distance, that they'd been too afraid to be the one to say the relationship wasn't working. What could have been a painful, dramatic ending became a mutual acknowledgement that they'd both been holding on to something that had already ended, both too scared to admit it and move forward. They separated with respect, with gratitude for what they'd shared, and with the freedom to each pursue the life they actually wanted rather than the life they thought they were supposed to have. This is something crucial to understand about the universe's signs and the temporary nature of pain. Sometimes the universe isn't trying to fix what's broken. It's trying to show you that what's broken needs to end so something new can begin. We hold on to jobs, relationships, friendships, beliefs about ourselves and situations long past their expiration date because we're terrified of the unknown. We think, better the devil I know than the devil I don't. But the universe isn't offering you a different devil. It's offering you freedom, growth, and alignment with your true path. The pain you're feeling right now, whatever form it takes, is temporary because you're not meant to stay where you are. You're meant to evolve, to transform, to become the version of yourself that's waiting on the other side of this difficulty. Alex moved across the country for the new job, and those first few months were challenging in completely different ways. There was loneliness, there was adjustment. There were moments of doubt where they questioned whether they'd made the right choice. But here's what was different. The pain of growth feels nothing like the pain of stagnation. When you're growing, when you're aligned with your path, even the difficult moments have a quality of rightness to them. You're tired because you're building something, not because you're being drained by something. You're uncertain because you're learning, not because you're trapped. You're alone sometimes because you're becoming someone new, not because you're isolated in dysfunction. Can you feel the difference? It's subtle but profound. In the new city, new signs began appearing everywhere. Alex started noticing repeated numbers, seeing 1111 on clocks, license plates, receipts. They'd think of someone, and that person would call or message within hours. They'd have a question, and the answer would appear in a conversation, a book, a random article. The universe wasn't being more active. Alex was finally awake enough to notice what had always been there. This is the secret. The universe is always communicating with you, always sending guidance, always supporting your journey. But you have to be present enough, aware enough, and trusting enough to recognize the signs. When you're drowning in pain, when you're consumed by suffering, it's like trying to hear a whisper in a hurricane. The message is there, but you can't perceive it through all the noise of your distress. Let's talk about the spiritual aspect of this, because it's essential to understanding why your pain is temporary. From a spiritual perspective, pain is never random and never permanent. It's a catalyst, a teacher, a transformative force designed to push you toward your highest good. Think of it like this. A seed has to break open, has to essentially experience the death of what it was in order to become the plant it's meant to be. If the seed could speak, it might say, "I'm in so much pain, I'm breaking apart, everything I knew about myself is changing." But what looks like destruction is actually creation. What feels like an ending is actually a beginning. Your pain right now is the breaking open, the transformation that precedes your blooming. And just like the seed doesn't bloom into randomness, but into the specific plant encoded in its DNA, your pain is guiding you toward the specific version of yourself that you're meant to become. The universe gave Alex many more signs over the following months. They met people who became genuine friends, not the surface-level connections they'd settled for before, but deep, authentic relationships with people who saw them, valued them, and celebrated them. They discovered hobbies and passions they'd abandoned years ago, rediscovering parts of themselves that had been buried under obligations and other people's expectations. They started taking care of their physical health, not from a place of punishment or shame, but from genuine love for their body and appreciation for what it had endured. And slowly, gradually, like watching a sunrise, Alex transformed. The person they became wasn't someone completely different from who they'd been, but rather the fullest, most authentic expression of who they'd always been underneath all the pain and pretending. Now let me speak directly to you, because this story is about Alex, but it's also about you. Whatever pain you're carrying right now, I need you to hear this. It is temporary. I know it doesn't feel temporary. I know it feels like this is your new permanent reality, like you'll always feel this heavy, this lost, this broken. But feelings are not facts. Your current circumstances are not your final destination. The pain you're experiencing is a passage, not a place. It's a tunnel you're moving through, not a prison you're trapped in. And the universe has already given you signs, breadcrumbs leading you toward your breakthrough. Maybe you've been dismissing them as coincidences. Maybe you've been too overwhelmed to notice them. Maybe you've seen them, but fear has convinced you to ignore them. But they're there. Let me give you some practical guidance, because spiritual truth without practical application can feel abstract and unhelpful. First, financially, if you're struggling with money and feeling like that pain will never end, understand this. Financial pain is almost always a signal that something needs to change in how you're relating to money, work, or value. Maybe the universe is pushing you toward a new job, a new skill, a new understanding of your worth. Maybe those unexpected expenses that feel like punishments are actually clearing away the old to make room for new abundance. Start looking for the signs around money. Did someone mention an opportunity you brushed off? Did you have an idea for a side business you immediately talked yourself out of? Did you see a course or training program multiple times that could enhance your skills? These repetitions aren't random. Pay attention to what keeps appearing, and instead of immediately responding with fear or skepticism, ask yourself, what if this is a sign? What if the universe is trying to guide me towards something better? In matters of love and relationships, the universe's signs are often even more obvious but harder to accept, because we're emotionally invested. If a relationship is causing you consistent pain, if you're giving everything and receiving nothing, if you've become a version of yourself you don't recognize in order to keep someone else happy, the universe is screaming at you to leave. The signs might look like arguments that keep repeating, like feeling drained after every interaction, like friends expressing concern, like your own intuition telling you something is wrong, even when you can't articulate why. The temporary pain of leaving is nothing compared to the permanent damage of staying in something that's destroying you. And here's what the universe knows that you might not. You cannot meet the right person while you're clinging to the wrong one. You cannot experience the love you deserve while you're accepting the love you don't. The universe will keep making that relationship more obviously wrong, more clearly painful, until you finally get the message and choose yourself. Spiritually, when you're in pain, the most important thing is to maintain or rebuild your connection to something larger than yourself. This doesn't have to be religious. It can be nature, energy, consciousness, source, whatever word resonates with your understanding. But isolation from the spiritual dimension of existence makes pain feel unbearable because it seems meaningless. When you understand that your pain has purpose, that it's part of a larger journey, that you're being guided even when it doesn't feel like it, everything shifts. Start a simple practice. Every morning before you even get out of bed, say, "Thank you. Thank you for another day. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the signs I'm about to receive." This isn't toxic positivity. It's not pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's acknowledging that even in the darkness, you're being held, you're being guided, you're being transformed. And every evening, review your day looking for signs. Did anything unusual happen? Did anyone say something that stuck with you? Did you notice any patterns or repetitions? Write them down. Over time, you'll start seeing the conversation the universe has been having with you all along. For your emotional and mental peace, please understand that healing isn't linear, and transformation isn't instant. Some days you'll feel strong and hopeful, and other days you'll feel like you've made no progress at all. This is normal. This is part of the process. The universe doesn't expect you to be perfect or to get it right immediately. It expects you to keep showing up, keep choosing growth over comfort, keep trusting even when trust feels impossible. And please, please be gentle with yourself. The voice in your head that tells you you're not enough, that you're broken, that you'll always be this way, that's not truth. That's trauma. That's the voice of pain trying to protect you by keeping you small and hidden. But you don't need that protection anymore. You need expansion, you need evolution, you need to step into the life that's waiting for you on the other side of this difficulty. 6 months after Alex made their first brave choice, they barely recognized their own life. They had a career that fulfilled them, relationships that nourished them, and most importantly, a relationship with themselves that was built on love rather than criticism. They still had challenges because life always includes challenges, but the quality of those challenges was completely different. They were growing pains, not dying pains. They were the discomfort of expansion, not the agony of contraction. And when they looked back at that version of themselves sitting in traffic with a broken-down car, crying in a mechanic's waiting room, they felt such compassion for that person who was suffering so much but couldn't yet see that everything was about to change. They understood now that the car breaking down wasn't bad luck. It was divine intervention. Every sign they'd almost missed, every moment they'd interpreted as the universe being cruel, had actually been the universe being merciful, protecting them, redirecting them, preparing them for something better than they'd been accepting. This is what I want you to understand with every fiber of your being. The universe is not punishing you with this pain. The universe is liberating you through this pain. What you're experiencing right now is the breaking down of what no longer serves you, so that what truly belongs in your life can finally enter. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it's terrifying. Yes, there are moments when you want to give up, when you want to go back to what was familiar even though it was killing you. But you can't go back. The person you were before this pain started doesn't exist anymore. You've already changed. The question isn't whether you'll transform, because that's already happening. The question is whether you'll participate consciously in that transformation or resist it every step of the way. The signs are everywhere. In the song that plays at the exact moment you needed to hear those lyrics. In the stranger who smiles at you when you're feeling invisible. In the opportunity that appears right when you're about to give up. In the problem that forces you to change direction. In the loss that creates space for gain. In the ending that's actually a beginning. In the pain that's actually preparation. Look for them, trust them, follow them. The universe is speaking to you right now, in this very moment. The fact that you're here, reading these words, that you've stayed with me this far into this story, that's not random. That's a sign. You're being told that your breakthrough is closer than you think, that your pain is temporary, that everything is about to shift in ways you can't yet imagine, but your soul already knows. So, what do you do now? You take one brave step. Not 10 steps, not 100, just one. You say yes to something you've been saying no to out of fear. You leave something that's been hurting you. You try something new. You reach out to someone. You invest in yourself. You trust your intuition. You stop waiting for permission and give it to yourself. You recognize that the only approval you need is your own. You understand that the universe can send you signs all day long, but you have to be the one who acts on them. Free will means the universe can guide you, but it can't force you. It can open doors, but you have to walk through them. It can send you opportunities, but you have to say yes. It can whisper truths, but you have to listen. And right now, in this moment, what is the universe whispering to you? What sign have you been ignoring? What truth have you been avoiding? What change have you been resisting? Listen. Pay attention. Trust yourself. Your pain is temporary, but the life waiting for you on the other side of this transformation is everything you've been longing for and more than you've allowed yourself to imagine. And if you want, tell me from which corner of the world you are watching this video. Your comment matters, and I want to read it and respond to you. For more exciting stories like this, click on the video that appears on your screen right now.